The art of acting has been around since the 6th century, when theater was first introduced in Athens, Greece. Fast forward, with the advent of motion pictures in the early 20th century, theater and films has become a major part of our lives through their ability to evoke our emotions and take us on journeys we like or not like to go. Today on God Dreamers, we will be hanging out with aspiring actress Joy Johnson Coleman. Joy has cameos in films such as Unsung, What the Future, Sisters and the Shrink, and even Marvel's Black Panther, to name a few. As a person of faith, she will share about her ongoing journey in the world of film, the ups and downs of acting, and how God has opened doors to allow her to pursue her passion and purpose. Hey guys, this is Todd. Welcome to another edition of God Dreamers. Today we're gonna kind of keep it kind of light, considering all the things that have been going on. You guys already know with the COVID and a lot of protesting going on. So we're gonna make this a little light today. I have a special guest, an up-and-coming actress that's doing some great things here in Atlanta, and she's done a few feature films. And so we're gonna kind of talk about her passion and her experience as far as becoming the person that she is today. So I'm really excited about having Joy Johnson Coleman here today.
Hello.
Thank you for hanging out with me today.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a crazy day, guys, but I'm so grateful that you guys can hang out with us today. So anyway,
Absolutely.
Before we kind of dig in, let's share a little bit about yourself.
So I am from Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Okay.
We moved down to Georgia. Has it been 3 years, 4 years that we've been down here?
Okay.
It's been quite an adjustment, especially culture-wise, getting to know the culture. Georgia culture is a lot different from North Carolina.
How's that? How different is it?
So in North Carolina, everyone is more open. Down in Georgia, everyone seems to be more, everyone fend for themselves.
In Georgia?
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
That's interesting.
That's what I noticed. I mean, in North Carolina, like if my car breaks down, I know that like 3 or 4 people are going to stop and try to help me get along. But down here, it's kind of like basically on your own. You got to call somebody to come help you out. But it was just that kind of neighborhood mentality of everybody taking care of everybody.
I guess it's all relative because I grew up in the Bahamas, but I lived up in the northern area, in New York and D.C. And so when I came down here, I was thinking that everybody's really friendly because up in where I came from, New York, you don't walk down the street and say hello. Mm-hmm. So down here, at least people would greet you. But that's interesting that you said that. Mm-hmm. So what else? Share a little bit more about being growing up in North Carolina.
So I'm a preacher's kid. My dad was a minister in the church.
Okay.
We were very, very connected in church. We basically went to school and church, and that was about the only places I went. So I basically kind of grew up in a box. My dad was real strict. We couldn't watch TV on Sundays, and I grew up in a Pentecostal church, so we did the whole only skirts, and all the ladies had to wear stockings, and no makeup, and minimal jewelry. I mean, it was very, strict. But on the other side of it, being the Pentecostal side of it, was very spiritual, very forward as far as spirituality. So I think that helped mold me to where I am today spiritually. So that's a little bit of my background.
Okay, so when you came to Georgia, was it a job situation? Now you're married.
I am married to my husband, Ben Coleman Jr. He acquired a job in Norcross, and so after many decisions, and we had never lived anywhere outside of North Carolina, but we just felt that it was time to try something new, and with the job offer just made it easy and confirmed some things for us and our family, and so we did move for the sake of his new job.
Okay.
Now back in North Carolina, personally, I was, my line of work, I worked in child care for a little while, and I worked as a behavior liaison for young kids with behavior issues. But I did acting, but it was more of something that I just did for fun on the side. But I've always had a passion for acting. I've always been on the stage, always been in the Christmas plays at church, school, community, things like that. I've always been in stage. And I had an aunt that was a dancer, so when she would do local theater productions, I would tag along with her. So I got to go backstage, and I got to sit on the front row when it was time for productions and just take everything in.
Yeah.
So it was very inspirational to me from a very young age.
Wow, so it started really early. So were you were you that child that would go and set up your little theater at the house and act for your parents and stuff like that? Did you do any of that?
I didn't really set things up. I think I was just always on. Like I didn't really have to set anything up, and I think I would find myself just acting things out without even trying. Like, because the way that I would watch TV, the way that it would impact me, I would just automatically start reciting things from different TV shows and different characteristics, and I just start doing it because it was just fun. It was something to do, and I just loved that. Just the idea of putting on a show, it was just fun.
Yeah. So when, I mean, how old were you when you first kind of were really leaning towards acting? Was it gradual, or is it something that you saw, or you just naturally were inclined to do that?
I feel like I was always naturally inclined because the way that performances would impact me personally, it felt like I was being spoken to like on a one-on-one basis. Even if I was in a crowd or in an audience, I always felt like there was like a one-on-one connection when I was watching TV or watching a production on stage or whatever. I always felt like it was a one-on-one connection. So I think that was just something naturally in me that said, oh, this is what I want to do. This is something I'm meant to do.
Wow. So did you have any formal training? Did you go to college and or take classes in acting and anything like that?
So I've had a lot of experiences of just, like I said, local community productions and things like that. In high school, I took a couple of courses in drama, and that was basically the extent of my formal training. But I got a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just on the scene, like just experience.
Real life experience.
Real life experience.
That's the best in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and for me, I think it is too, because I mean, I prefer I learn better when I'm actually in a situation and when I'm actually observing people in the situation. Like when I was doing background work, which I still do from time to time, doing background work, I would watch the real actors doing what they do, and I was inspired, and I would just find myself soaking up everything they did, how they interacted with each other, how they reacted, and how they fed off of each other in the scene. Everything just kind of was deposited into me, and I kind of just took it in.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So when you guys finally moved to Georgia, you said 3 years ago?
No, it's been at least 4 or 5.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So that was probably around the time when I guess Georgia was really transitioning to becoming the film industry that it is now. I think. When they built a couple of studios like Pinewood Studio, which is actually not too far from here, and I just read this the other day that it's like 9-point-something billion a year that the film industry has kind of brought to Georgia, and actually Georgia is the largest of all the states as far as supporting the film industry. And I didn't even know that. I was thinking, I think it was California has always been like the number one, and I think New York was number 2, and then Georgia. But then I read that, I was like, wow, I didn't know that Georgia was the largest. But then I guess when you think about it, with all the, you have, I think Tyler Perry Studios, which is probably, I think that's one of the largest, if not the largest, production studio in the country, or maybe, or for that matter, even the world. Because I heard that it was even bigger than, I think, 3 of the studios out in California combined. And then, of course, the Pinewood Studios that are here, and then they have several other studios that have kind of popped up. So this Georgia, I guess when you move down here, were you in the back of your mind thinking, man, hey, we definitely need to go to Georgia because of the film industry. This is a perfect place for me to kind of expand and grow and fulfill my purpose. Was that in the back of your mind?
Well, actually, no, I didn't.
No?
I didn't connect the two because basically we were making the move because of his job situation, and I was just content where I was. I really didn't see myself going any further than where I was because there wasn't that opportunity in North Carolina. So when we moved to Georgia, and I start looking on Facebook and seeing where different background work was available, and I said, well, let me try that. I like to act a little bit. Let me just get my foot wet and see what's going on over here. So I really was not planning on everything that's happened to happen. So it feels like it's just been a God-led type of process. It definitely has been a God-led process. And I couldn't foresee the doors that are opening for me right now. I didn't make those happen. It's just God's timing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So share a little bit about that. I mean, so what was your first, I guess, opportunity to be on a set and for a film? What was that first opportunity, and what was that like, going down that path?
There was so many background opportunities in Georgia, and it was definitely a bit of a humbling experience because when you work in background, it's like the lowest part of the totem pole in regards to filming. And there's a lot of waiting and a lot of different personalities and a lot of people who just speak their mind without thinking about it first. So that in itself, that was like a character adjustment for me, working the background. But on the other side of it, I got to learn more about set language, and set directions, and like I said, just observe the actors, observe the directors, the producers, and looking at the different roles that everyone plays in order to create one unified project, and just to be able to appreciate the different roles that everyone takes on, impacted me greatly. So I said, well, let me just do my best to do my part. So I noticed what I liked and I noticed what I didn't like, and I tried to maintain my peace. I mean, lots of times there were some sets that was pretty chaotic. Yeah. But I really had to hone in on my own piece and just, take in what I wanted to and just leave the rest, just try to focus on what I'm there for.
Yeah, I got you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, me being, not really in the film industry, but in the production industry, it's a different world behind camera. I mean, a lot of people just see what's in front of the camera, but they don't really realize the amount of effort, the amount of resources that are required to make things happen. And also the personalities, because you can come across people, well, it could be a very harsh environment, depending on what set you're working on. But right. I mean, it was a wide open experience for me. I was like, whoa. So I can imagine, experiencing that. So, can you share a little bit about that too, as far as just dealing with people? I mean, especially coming from, I guess let me kind of qualify that, especially coming from a Christian background, and the film industry is very liberal. And we all already know that. And so how difficult, or maybe how challenging has it been for you to kind of navigate through that environment, with your Christian and your faith-based background? Because I think sometimes those can be contentious at times, depending on who you work with. But I mean, how do you kind of navigate through all of that?
I think the best way for me to answer that question is to give it from my own personal point of view, because I think it could be different from different people, for different
Understood.
people, based on who you are and how you're raised and things like that. But the way I was raised was to always observe people and the environment. Just take everything in and really use my discernment to my best abilities. But when I enter a space, I take in what is going on in the space, whether it's positive, negative, organized, chaotic. I take everything in when I enter a room. And so I make a decision on where I want to be. Do I want to sit over here with the chaos? Do I want to sit over here in this area where it seems pretty calm? And lots of times it looks as if I'm being, what's the word that you use? Like, Ben, what's the word? What's that word you call me? When I don't speak to a lot of people and when I keep to myself, what's that word?
I don't know.
Yeah, see, Ben, our husband, is sitting over there, and he's kind of like, he's got this really kind of look on his face, like, I don't know if I want to answer that.
Well, he will say sometimes how, there is a word. When you sort of keep to yourself and you don't really talk to a lot of people right away, and I'm really just taking in what the different personalities are in the room, because I know that I don't really want to tolerate a lot of foolish conversation or behaviors or things like that. So I do kind of keep to myself, and some people think I'm antisocial. That's the word. That's what he called me before. He's like, why you have to be so antisocial? And I'm like, it's not really that. I just need a minute, to discern, because I'm fragile, because I am a sensitive person. So I try to protect my peace. Yeah. So I think to some people it comes off as being antisocial. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing when I enter a room, and when I discern that, then I decide, okay, where I'm going to place myself in the room, and who I'm going to place myself beside, and then I get there, and then I might just be quiet for a little while still, because I'm still taking things in, and I'm adjusting to the temperature in the room. Yeah. And it's just the way that I handle my own peace, and that's how I navigate my way through things, because you got to know where you are in regards to how you react in certain situations, and things that set you off, things that push your buttons, things you can't stand. You got to know yourself and be true to yourself. And so that's what I do. I pretty much am, I just watch and see what's going on around me, and I just kind of go with the flow.
I understand. So, so are you? Well, how would you classify yourself? You're an introvert or an extrovert?
I don't think I think I'm a combination.
Okay.
I'm a combination of both. It's more of timing for me, because I'm very quiet when I meet people, because I'm just taking them in. Yeah. And then I decide how much I can. What's the word? Socialize. And what level they're on at that moment, and then I kind of adjust to where everyone else is at the moment.
Yeah, because I'm really an introvert, and so I have to turn my extrovert switch on depending on the environment that I'm in. But when I turn it off, I'm like, I'm like totally drained, and so I can definitely understand that. So share a little bit about some of the movies. Now you've played and you had a role in Black Panther. And let me get the list here. What the future?
Best of Enemies.
And Best of Enemies, and then Sisters and the
Shrink.
So
Unsung, the movie.
Yeah. So how was those experiences? How was those experiences?
So I didn't have a role in Black Panther, but I was kind of in the camera a little bit. So I was hired to work background, and I was only hired for one day, and the whole process was pretty interesting, because when I signed up to be in the background, I was thinking, wow, I got to be in this movie. I just want to be in this movie. What a black superhero. I got to be in it somehow. Yeah. I don't care if I have to, if I'm a maid or what, I just got to be in it. So when I applied, I just said, well, let me see what happens. And there were some questions on the application, and one of them was, do you have a fear of heights? And if you recall that movie, there's a waterfall scene. And that question was specific to that waterfall scene, because they were going to be placing people on these elevated surfaces, and they were going to be attached with I don't know what you call it, but whatever.
Like a tether?
To their back or whatever. And so they were asking that question, and I thought, should I be honest? Should I be honest about this? Because I really, really want to be in this movie. And, I thought about it, and I said, well, let me just go ahead and be honest. And it's like, yes, I don't really like being high up. So I was like, whatever, Yeah. So I left kind of feeling defeated. I was like, well, I don't know if they're going to call me, because they made it a point to ask that question. So I was like, and I said no, so they're probably not even going to contact me. So some time went by. Some of my friends that I had made on other sets were getting booked for Black Panther, and I was like, okay, so I missed it. So they didn't want me. They read my stuff or whatever. But later on, there came another scene that didn't require heights, and they said, well, we need you for this other scene for the motherland. Are you available? And I was like, well, yeah. And he only hired me for one day.
One day.
And when you're working background, you want to be a part of that core, because when you're a part of the core, you get more chances of being seen on TV. Yeah. So I was like, one day, well, let me take it. It's better than nothing. Black superhero, first time for this. And so I went to set, and God just worked things out. Like I said, he just ordered my steps. And every time I looked up, there was someone pushing me to this space and someone moving me to this space. Wow. And I just, and the director was putting people in place. and he didn't get to me until last. And the whole process kind of felt like I was being rejected because you want to be like, me, I can go, you know. So he was calling people out. Okay, I want you, and I want you to go here, and I want you, and I want you to go there. And he was getting to everybody, and he got down to, it was me and someone else, and he said, I really need someone that can act. And I was like, oh, I guess, can you act? I was like, yeah. And so he took the other guy, and he put them in place, and he came to me last. He said, can you act? And I was like, yeah, I can act. And he said, okay, well, I'm going to put you right here. And it happened to be in a spot where my face was going to be on the camera, and I was going to be up close and front and center and beside Chadwick Boseman. And he actually spoke to me, and I was like, they tell us, don't talk to the actors, don't mess them up. They're focused,
Yeah.
So he spoke to me, and I was like, I didn't say much at all, and he probably thought something was wrong with me. He was like, hello, how are you doing today? And I was like,
inside you're like,
right.
Yeah.
I didn't, no conversation, no words. I don't think any words came out, but just a gesture. And I was like, I'm not getting myself in trouble, so I have to leave this set, is what I'm thinking. So I got to play it cool. So I was just like, carry on.
You walked up, she's got an attitude. No, I'm just kidding.
Or say, what's going on with her? So anyway, I want, when it got edited, I found, like I said, on the set, I found myself in front of the camera many times.
Yeah.
And, when we finally went to go see the movie, my husband and I was surprised because, like I said, I was working background. So when you work background, you never know if you made the cut.
Yeah.
And so when we went to go see the movie, I was telling my husband, I was like, the camera was right there, so I might have a chance of being on camera for this international movie, and we went to go see it, and there I was, like, twice. I was
Wow.
like, that's me. That's me. I was like,
Hey, y'all, this is me.
it was pretty exciting, uncredited, but that is me.
Yeah.
So
That
that's
was so
pretty
cool.
exciting.
That is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So what about the other movie, the one dealing with the white and black?
Mm-hmm. Best of Enemies, starring
That was actually a
Taraji.
very good movie too. I enjoyed
Oh,
that
it
movie.
was. It was, and I didn't even know about the story.
I didn't know
until
either.
and it's amazing because I feel like in some ways the school system has failed me greatly because we've gotten this watered down history of Black history that for the month of February, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I was so inspired to hear the story, so I was all in. I was like, oh, this is a great story. So I felt like I said I had that one-on-one connection that I had when I was a kid, like I could relate, and I was in it. And I was like, yeah, I'm in it. I feel you. I'm in it. And like I said, the same thing that happened being in background for Black Panther also happened for Best of Enemies. Mm-hmm. And I found myself in front of the camera, not because of something I did, but I don't know if it was an energy thing, mm-hmm. but I definitely know it was a God thing, but he just let me be in the right place at the right time. And I just found myself beside Miss Taraji. I was like, okay, let me just do what I was hired to do. And they, they had several scenes that I was getting called for, and was like, we need you right here, and we need you to be doing this. And, I just did my job and earned my little $60 for that moment. And I learned a lot from being on set. Like I said, it was a very humbling experience, and it's not something I forget, and it definitely helped shape my character.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Pretty cool. Maybe when I grow up, I can be like you. I think my days are over with in that regard. So let's fast forward today. So what are on your plans for right now? Do you have any? I know that right now with all the COVID stuff going on, mm-hmm. I think that the industry for the most part is kind of just starting to ramp back up mm-hmm. As far as production. What are your plans? What are your goals in terms of continue to act and so forth? And I know that some of that's kind of outside of your control, because mm-hmm. you have to audition and go through the whole process. But mm-hmm. still, I would imagine you still have some vision as far as where you would like to be.
So the past couple of years, I've been researching like crazy, trying to figure out how I can go further than where I was. So background is great. Like I said, I still do it from time to time. I learn a lot. But I wanted to go further. I felt like I wanted to do more, and there was more in me to do. And I said, I want lines. I want lines. I really want lines. And I want a part, and I want a name, and I want a character. So I started doing research on Facebook and Instagram and just networking with other people behind the scenes on those different on the different professional sets really helped push me forward, because doing background, I met other backgrounders that were there for different reasons. Some of them were looking to be directors, some of them were looking to be producers, lots of them wanted to be actors, but you had all these different people that had their reasons for being on set. So it was more that, it was that community feeling of developing relationships with people in the background. That's when you really get to find out who you're working with. And so someone that I met in the background happened to be an aspiring director, and she called on me for something she was filming, and we had established a relationship behind the scenes already. And so that the networking process is definitely something that helped push me forward. Because without that, without those people who I connected with and connected with me, I wouldn't be where I am today. So just making those connections and talking to people, even though I was at the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak, allowed me to solidify some good relationships. And I think that's the background thing that helped push me forward. That's why I am where I am as far as having character roles and being a lead character in a recent film that I did called Unsung, being a lead character in Sisters and the Shrink, various auditions that I went on after that process. Some were rejections, a lot were rejections, and I had to learn not to take that so personal, because when you go on an audition, they're not really judging you; they're judging to see if it's the fit. Like that, yeah, they're judging the fit of the character and who you are. And so at first I kind of took it personally when I was like, oh, what's wrong with me? I'm not good enough. I'm being rejected. I go out and I audition and they're going with somebody else. What can I do to improve myself to make them like me? And so it was more of a self-evaluation that needed to take place for me. And I had to understand, it's not that they're rejecting me. It's just it's the role, it's the placement. And also I had to lean more into my spirituality, because, God has a plan for me. And I had to have peace in walking in the footsteps that he had laid out for me. And I've come to realize in all of my 40 plus years that it's best when I let God navigate my way rather than me trying to hustle it. So I relax in letting God navigate my way, and whatever door he opens, then I'll go through them. But I'm not going to kick any down, because that was my prayer for the longest time, is God, I don't want to have to kick down any doors. I'm done with that. So if you open them, then I will walk through. Yeah. And that's kind of how it's been. And having a relationship has helped me grow as a person and understand who I am, what my purpose is, where I want to be, where I'm meant to, and where I'm meant to go. Yeah.
Wow. The film industry in itself is a tough industry. I mean, period. I mean, at all levels, because you have a lot of people that are vying for, I guess, those limited opportunities in terms of acting. I guess even on the backside of things. But but the good news is that, with all the advent of technology and with cameras becoming less expensive, and so people can now shoot their films with small little inexpensive cameras. Have you ever thought about doing something like you become the director, the producer, and shoot your own short film or something like that? Or even, I guess, with a lot of independent artists or independent films that are out there, have you considered any of those options at all?
I have considered those options, and I'm game for it. I feel like, the way that things have been is how it's supposed to be. So I feel like I said before, when God opens that door, that he will make it in a way that it's confirming that I feel comfortable walking through that door. So I definitely see it as a possibility.
Awesome. All right, so as we close, just share a little bit about, for those that are watching that want to pursue acting or even get into the film industry, just from your personal experience, any suggestions or recommendations that they should, look into? I know for me, just on the outside looking in, I think whatever you want to do in life, you should study that trade. If you want to be a doctor, you need to study to become a doctor. If you want to be an actress or an actor, you need to study, film and things like that. But anyway, I asked you the question, so I'll let you give your opinion as far as, what your suggestions or recommendations would be.
I definitely agree. Studying is really a good thing to do. My studying, the way that I learn is the way I learn. So it's hard for me to say that to advise to someone, well, do it this way, do it the way that I've done it, and then you would be successful.
Yeah.
Because everyone learns differently. And like I said, I learned by actually being in the situation. That's how I glean knowledge. Whereas some people can just open a book and read it and have it that way. Other people can learn things through YouTube. So I would say just be open to learn. Be open to learn and be open to get in as much knowledge as you need. And I would say don't rely on what everybody else is doing. I can't rely on what the mass is doing because I'm not the mass.
Yeah.
And that's one thing God has had to teach me. And there are a lot of people out there that say, well, you have to take this $6,000 class,
Yeah.
acting class, and I can't afford that. Hey, I'm not there yet. It's coming, but I'm not there yet. Well, I can afford a $6,000 class, and it's kind of discouraging because you think if I can't take this big expensive class, then it's not going to happen for me.
Yeah.
But God doesn't necessarily operate that way.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends where you are in your faith can help you grow as a person, work on you, work on feeling confident in your own skin, get comfortable with what God has blessed you with, and
Yeah.
confident in your own gifts. And I think that is an essential part to doing whatever job or whatever gift that you want to use. Is you got to hone in on who you are.
Yeah.
And hone in on your purpose. So you got to get to know yourself, and that's like the biggest thing you can do for acting or directing or producing or anything in life is to get to know yourself and to understand that you are worthy, you have something to offer, and that you have a purpose.
That's good. That's really good. And I like what you said there about, God being in the midst of that, because he will open or sometimes even close doors that, and I think if you're, as being a Christian, that's so critical because even in my experiences, I think when I've tried to do something, for something, it never worked out. But then when I allowed God just to open up that door, the whole process was a whole lot easier, and actually it was much better
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that is so cool. Yeah. So thank you so much for taking this time out to kind of share your experience and and some of the things you're doing. And I mean, it was really good to talk to you, and I hopefully those that are trying to pursue acting will kind of take some of the things that you said and some of the experiences that you've kind of encountered and apply that in their quest to find their purpose. So, guys, stay tuned for the next episode. If you have any other good ideas as far as people are doing great things behind the scenes and want to share that, just let me know. Reach out to me through social media, and we'll make it happen. So until next time, you guys take care.